Wait for the 11. What? Wait. Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to our broadcast tonight. And in case you've never seen one of these before, I'm Clive, and this is
Diana.
Oh, right, you got that right. And tonight we've got something awesome. We've got an awesome speaker, but before we get to that, I just need to remind you, our distributors here in the United Kingdom, part of our business, that this year is bonus year. You know what I mean? Latest company's promotion. It will be a phenomenal year, and we've got one of the best speakers tonight that's going to help you move your journey along. Before we introduce him, I just want to tell you about another guest speaker we've got coming on in 4 weeks' time. A really interesting story, and I'll tell you who it is later on. But now, let's talk about tonight's guest. This gentleman is a phenomenal person, a genuine guy. He is a best-selling author. He has done tremendous things in the industry and tremendous stuff for a brilliant charity. In fact, some of you will have read his book. It is, of course, Mr. Beach Money himself. And without further ado, we will, of course, introduce Mr. Jordan Adler.
Hey, Clive and Diana, and hi, everybody. And I love the special effects. That's a nice little surprise. I did not expect that. So, thank you.
Well, that's okay, Jordan. We didn't expect it either. Listen, seriously now, you've written a great book. You're a phenomenal worldwide leader in the industry. You're one of the top income achievers in the industry, in the world, and all credit to you. Some people here on the call won't have read your book, and perhaps won't be quite sure who you are and your journey. So would you mind us giving our group and the people who are watching this broadcast your story, if you wouldn't mind?
Absolutely, thank you, and thanks for hosting me on the call tonight. I really, I'm enjoying this already. So I learned about network marketing at a garage sale back when I was in my early 20s, and I picked up a book for a quarter, for 25 cents, called The 10 Napkin Presentations by Don Failla, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about this profession. I grew up in a lower middle income neighborhood in the south suburbs of Chicago. But the book was intriguing to me, and I learned about residual income. I learned about leveraging time through the work of people, and I liked the idea of it. I've always been a dreamer since I was very young, and so I ran the idea by my parents, and my dad, of course, thought it was a really dumb idea, and he said it's a scam and all those kinds of things. And for many, many years, my father was very, very cynical about my journeys in this direction. So I did go to college. My father paid for 1 year of college, and I was required to graduate. So I worked through, in Illinois, I worked through getting a degree in the field of landscape architecture. And right out of college, I moved to Arizona with a guitar, a suitcase, and $250. And I applied for jobs, and I had lots of jobs over the years. I did work in corporate America for 17 years, but all the while I was answering classified ads in the newspaper and getting involved in different business opportunities. And over the course of 10 years, I had signed up for 11 different network marketing companies. Everything from Dr. Hill's Pelton-Diced Spirulina to Amway twice to Nashika 3D cameras, all these different companies over a period of 10 years, and I never signed up a single distributor, and I never made a penny in any of these companies, not one penny. In fact, I racked up $36,000 in debt on 22 credit cards, getting in and out of different businesses.
Wow.
And then in 1992, I joined my 12th network marketing company, and they say when preparation and opportunity collide, that's when things start to happen. You've probably heard that before, and I had been preparing. I'd gone to many seminars. I'd listened to hundreds of audio tapes. I've been reading books on network marketing over the years, and I loved the idea of it. I just wasn't very good at it. and really it wasn't so much that I wasn't good at it. I didn't. My thinking was wrong, and so I would quit. You know, my strategy was if it wasn't working, then quit. That was my strategy, and then join another one and see if I could find one that was the right one. And I did that for years. And then in '92, I joined my 12th company, and I also aligned myself with a mentor who we never went into business together. His name was Russ Devan, but he had the lifestyle that I wanted, and I listened to him. And I finally attached myself to that company, and I was actually there for 13 years. The company ended up going away, but I made $8 million with that company. I left my job after about a year and a half. Wow. That was my 12th company on my 11th year, and I was there for 13 years. I'd still be there today if they were still around. But I finally figured out how to sponsor a distributor, how to give a simple presentation, how to set up appointments, how to sponsor a distributor, and I started signing up about one person per month, and I did that for 13 years. I signed up 129 people in 13 years, which is just under one per month, and from those 129, 5 of them resulted through the organization of a team of about 85,000 people and 30,000 customers and millions of dollars a month in revenue, and that was my journey getting, and that, you know, through and then the beach money is really just the story of the lessons that I've learned along the way, things that I found to, you know, there's a lot of agendas out there in the marketplace, and I really try and tell the truth in the book in terms of like what somebody's going to really expect on their journey. And we all have the same experience. You, Clive, Diana, myself, and other top leaders in network marketing. The stage is different, the set is different, but the stories are similar. I mean, we all go through the same ups and downs, and we all have the same struggles. And you know, a story that is like when somebody joins a company and then they're instantly successful, that story is kind of boring. But the interesting stories, the ones that inspire people, are the stories where somebody went from struggle, from challenge to success. And my story is no different. That's the story that inspires people, is when somebody has a long period of time where they struggle and they have to learn the lessons, and it's those lessons that ultimately, that's what inspired me, is learning from people that had struggled and then went on to achieve great success in the business.
Yeah. So that's really cool, Jordan, and I get it, because reading your book, and the other thing too that I forgot to mention, I asked Diana if she'd contact you, Jordan, you know, to come on the broadcast tonight, and thank you very much for doing it.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know Diana had when she came off the telephone, she said, "I've been speaking to Jordan Adler." So I said, "Oh, how is he?" She said, "He's fine. He's just got to ring me back because he's got a bit of difficulty in trying to find a spot to park his helicopter." Yeah. Now, it's not the sort of conversation that you have every day, you know, but in reading your book, it struck me that, you know, you created this grid, didn't you, which you put on the wall over your bed, where you sort of map out your presentations. And I know you were a single guy, and perhaps you just tell our audience tonight about that.
This guy told me, he said, if you go do 100 presentations, you'll be an executive in the company and you'll be financially independent. You won't have to work a job anymore. That's what he told me, and I believed him. And I took a black magic marker and I drew a 3-foot by 4-foot grid on the wall in my bedroom. And it had 100 squares. And I wrote at the top, "Have fun," because I had so much debt and I was upside down and I was using credit cards to pay my bills and my car was broken down. I was taking the bus to work, and so I wrote "Have fun" because I wasn't having fun. And then in that company, I needed 20 customers to qualify, so I wrote "Find 20" at the top. And on the bottom right, I wrote ED, that stands for Executive Director, but I wrote ED at the bottom on this grid. And then every time I would show the business, I would write a date in one of the little boxes, and I held myself accountable. And my goal was to show the business 3 times a week. I had a job with employees. The airline that I was working for had just filed bankruptcy, and so they had cut my pay from, believe it or not, $28,000 a year down to $14,000 a year. Wow. So I had a broken down car that was sitting in the street for 2 years. I had a job paying me $14,000 a year. My rent was $200 a month. I owned 1 suit, and I had $36,000 in credit card debt. And I was renting a room, and this is honest to God truth, that used to be the garage in this house, and I had 2 roommates, and my rent was $200 a month. And so every time I would share the business, I'd write a date in one of those little boxes. And I was single, as you mentioned, and I'd meet a girl and like her, and we'd go out on a few dates. And at one point, she'd end up at the house, and I'd give her a little tour of my little rental, and we'd go to the bedroom. And she saw this grid over the bed that said "Have fun, find 20," and then all these little dates in the boxes right over the bed. And at the bottom, it said ED, and she wanted to know who's Ed. And she thought it was really weird, and I never saw her again after that.
Well, yeah, I get that, but your story of actually keeping records. I would suggest to our audience tonight that most of you should keep this in a diary. But one thing I did reading your book, you were very serious about sponsoring 2 to 3 people a month. That was your goal, and you set up the activity to do that. And one of the things that I noticed in talking to you, when we've met before, and again in reading your book and talking to other leaders, there seems to be a number. If you introduce 20 to 30 people, into the business, that seems to be the best way of getting it going. And not in a week, but over a reasonable period of time. What would you say to that, Jordan?
Well, actually, Clive, in the last company, I signed up an average of a little less than 1 a month, and then for the last 10 years, the company I'm with now, I average anywhere from 2 to 3 people per month personally. But the reason for that is because I show it to more people now. I used to show it to 3 people a week. Now I show it to, on average, anywhere from 1 to 2 a day on average. So I sign up more distributors. I end up signing up about 3 a month personally. Everybody has a different philosophy about that, but what I found is that for every 20, and this is across the board, it doesn't matter, you can talk to the top earners at 10 different network marketing companies, and they'll all tell you pretty much the same thing. For every 20 to 30 people that they personally sign up in the business, they have a third of them do nothing, and you can't change that. People are people. A third of them do a little bit, and a third of them do a little more than a little, and 1 out of 20 to 30 will usually go out and do it big. And this seems to apply to real estate. It seems to apply to insurance sales, and it also is, network financial planning, and as well as network marketing. And for the most part, if you talk to a top earner in a company, most of the time they've been with their company for somewhere between 3 or 5 years or more. They personally signed up at least 100 people over the period of that time, and from those 100, almost all their income comes from 1 to 3 people. That's typically what I found, and it's not 100%, but it's pretty darn close to that. So, like, for example, I've signed up 400 people in 10 years in my company, and that's about 3 a month. From those 400, there's 7 of them that are responsible for almost 100% of my income.
Wow.
The rest of them have become customers or quit. So, when somebody comes to me and says, Jordan, I've signed up 5 people and nobody's doing anything, that's normal. Right, isn't it? You guys know that experience.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I get this. But some of the numbers that for our people watching tonight, particularly our brand new people, they're going to find that a little bit scary.
Right.
And I know you because the thing that I really get about you, Jordan, more than anything else, is your ability to keep adding to your contact list. And your attitude in doing that. Would you share that with our audience, please?
Yeah, I've gotten in a habit, a pattern, and it really is. It's like if you're a brand new distributor and you're thinking about signing up 100 people, that's really overwhelming. If somebody came to me as a brand new distributor that had never signed up anybody in over 10 years and said, you got to sign up. I'm talking the top people in the company. You don't need 100 people to make good money in network marketing. I'm talking about people that are at the top of their game. What you want to focus on is the simple daily activities, and then commit to it for a 3 to 5 year program. So for example, I don't meet a lot of people, but I meet 1 or 2 people a day. I put myself in situations where I know I'm going to meet people. So I look for opportunities to do that. Now, some people, if you're homebound, and there's always a few people that are, then socialize online, as best you can. But what I do is I'm involved in networking groups in my community. I try and get out at least 1 or 2 nights a week with friends, and I usually meet people. And if I'm in an environment where I can comfortably say, hey, do you have a business card, or how can I stay in touch with you? Do you have an email address? I get contacts every week, anywhere from 5 to 10 new personal contacts of people that I've met. And I add them to my list. I've got a book that's a black book. It's my list book. And then I've got a green book, which is my money book. It's the list book and the money book. And when everybody in the list book, I call them to set appointments to show them the business. They don't all agree, but that's where I start. And then if I show them the business and they're not interested, if I show them the business and they're interested but they don't show up, they go into the green book, which is the money book. And so my green book is my most valuable book. That's the book that I use to follow up with people. And so, I'm always, for as long as I can remember since I've been involved in this business, I'm always adding new names to my list. I've always got stacks of business cards, little notes of paper with people's information, and I take that information and I put it all in one place where I have it written, not just on the computer, not just in a contact manager, but actually written where I can see it. It's sitting on my desk and I can see it. I've got a notepad in my car, and when somebody's name pops into my mind, I write their name down. If I haven't put them in my book yet, and then they go into the black book. If I don't have their phone number, I'm going to get their phone number through Facebook or through, so I'm always meeting new people and adding new people to my contact list. It's really important. That's the most important part of actually keeping your business going. That's the fuel you put in your vehicle to move your vehicle along.
So in terms of you meeting people, okay, and you're going about your daily life, and you meet somebody and you think, oh, nice person. I must admit, I only tend to talk to nice people. I learned a long time not to train people to be nice, just to recruit nice people.
There you go.
Our organisation is full of nice people. So when you talk to people and you capture the details, do you sort of have a set of words that you use, or does it vary from time to time?
Well, I'm always focused on the relationship first, always. And so if they ask me about my business, I don't usually talk about my business in that environment. My objective is to get to know them, to make a friend, and that's what you two are really good at, is making friends with people. So I don't have an agenda when I'm meeting people. I don't have an agenda. I'm not meeting them because I'm trying to get them in my business or I'm trying to sign them as a customer. I'm meeting them to make a friend. And then if it makes sense for me to, based on our conversation, if it makes sense for me to contact them, then I'll contact them. So my goal is, if they do ask me about what I do, I may tell them I'm a professional networker, or I might say that I help people set up businesses. I might say something very generic like that, but then I'm going to turn the conversation back to them. How long have you been in Vegas, or what do you like to do for fun, or how long have you been working your job at the post office, or whatever it is. I'll get to know them, and I'll try and engage with them at a level that's personal. And then in our conversation, I'm always listening very carefully, because I'm listening for clues that tell me that they might be looking, they might be a little bit hungry, they might be a little bit devoid of some aspect of their life that I could help them with. Now, I'm not going to jump on that opportunity, though, but I am going to listen. So if they tell me something, I'll make a mental note of it, but I'm not going to say anything at that moment. Because now when I call them on the phone to set up an appointment, I'll call them and I'll say, hey Rod, this is Jordan. We talked the other night, and you mentioned something to me that caught my attention that I just thought I'd give you a call. I'd love to set up a time to grab coffee with you and run some ideas by you, kick some ideas around with you. So that's kind of where it goes. So I'll set the appointment later. I keep the personal and the business separate, completely separate.
Yeah.
But the relationship is always number one.
I think from what you shared with us, Jordan, is what I call master prospecting. In fact, every master prospector that I've ever met in the industry seems to have a similar methodology: build rapport, collect their contact details somehow or other, and then put them in however you manage your contacts. I know you have a black and a green book. I must admit, I just have one.
We need to get a green book.
Well, it's what you're comfortable with, isn't it? It's what you do. Yeah. So now in building your business, Jordan, I know you're really keen on events.
Yeah.
And just to bring you up to speed, here in the UK, January for our business is full of events. We have lots and lots of regional seminars up and down the United Kingdom. In fact, I think the last one is next Saturday that we're hosting in Exeter, which is in the West Country. It's the first one in the West Country. It's sold out, which is brilliant. The guys and girls down there work really hard, so big thumbs up for them. And then we've got our national seminar in March the 24th, I think it is, isn't it?
22nd and 23rd.
22nd and 23rd. Well, the guys will know when it is. So, what's your advice about events and why they are so useful and powerful to us?
I had a mentor that told me something one time that really stuck, and that was that for and I want you to get the concept of it. It's not so much the specifics of what he said, but the concept of it. He said, for every person that you have at a major event, you can multiply your group by 100 over the next few years. That's what he told me. And back then, I had never signed up a single distributor, but I went to the convention by myself, and 1 year later, I had 80 people in my organization. Wow. And then the next year, I brought 4 people with me to the convention, and 1 year later, I had 400 people in my organization. The next year, I brought 50 people with me, and from that, over 5,000 people came to the organization. The year after that, I brought, I think it was 500 people, and over 50,000 people joined my organization as a result of those. Now, that was my experience, but here's what you got to know. This is the concept that you got to know. That you will accomplish more in a 1 or 2 day event or a convention by bringing people there than you can the whole year trying to do it on your own. So my energy and my effort is all about getting people to those events, because if I can get them to an event that year, I don't need to worry about those people. I know those people are going to continue, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are going to continue to work the business and be productive, because it'll go from their head to their heart.
Yeah.
That's what happens at the events. And so I'm always encouraging, I'm bringing people myself, and I'm encouraging people to get people to the convention, whatever you need to do to get there. Heck, my second year rather, we put 5 people into a little red Toyota Tercel, and we drove, I think, I don't know, it was 13 hours. It was ridiculous. I mean, we were so sore when we got out of that car. But we all stayed in one little hotel room that cost us $50 because we didn't have the money, in the beginning.
Yeah.
So you do whatever you have to do to get to the events and get your people there. Even if you bring one person, if you can bring one person, bring one. If you can bring 10 or 50, do that. But get as many from your team there, because that represents leverage that you will never ever get on your own.
Cool. Thanks, Jordan. And in talking of events, as I say, our focus right now is on our company's national event in March. But later in the year, we've got a couple of events. We've got a distributor-run event called Massive Action Day. And in November, for the first time ever, we've got your friend and my friend Eric Worre coming over to do a GoPro Recruiting Mastery event. And I know you know Eric really well. I mean, he's a friend of ours, but I know you also a big buddy of his. And I'd just like you to give people a flavor of how that can impact people, if you would, please.
Sure. Long before I ever signed up my first distributor, there was the mastermind sessions that were going on in Phoenix, Arizona. It was in the early 90s, and I went to one of these events. And if you can imagine going to a place where the top people in your profession are there, and you get to network with those people and get around them and ask them questions and learn, and you grow into, you've all heard this before, you grow into the people that you hang around. So when you get around a lot of top network marketers, like I'm talking the top of the top in your country, and even some from outside the country, when you get around those individuals, you grow just by being around them and listening to the conversations. And then also to get some of the absolute best training available today in the entire network marketing profession. Again, it's one of those, it's an accelerator. There's certain things that will accelerate your growth. And this kind of event, the GoPro event, is an accelerator to your success. And I attribute much of my success to attending early programs back in the 90s where I got around people like Richard Brooke and Art Jonak and Donna Johnson, and listening to top leaders in network marketing get up on stage, and I was in the front row taking notes. This is long before I ever signed up a distributor. Just taking lots of notes and really taking that and internalizing it so it became me, so that I could then take it and share it with the world. So it's an essential thing. I think it's really important for people to be there.
Fantastic. Now, Jordan, we're actually coming up to the last 5 minutes or so of our time together, and I'm going to call the audience now for questions, but I've already actually had one question in, and we kind of covered it, but not in any real detail. This is a question from Mike Broom, and his question is, what do you ask people to get a presentation? So obviously you met somebody, you've got their contact details, you're then going to get on the phone and you're going to invite them to sit down with you. How do you cover that?
So, great question, Mike. And everybody's looking for a really sophisticated answer to these questions, what do you say? I got to tell you, I didn't have a TV set for 25 years. I heard a speaker on a stage say that your TV is costing you a lot of money, and if you will throw your TV away or give it away or unplug it and focus on your business, it will dramatically increase your earning potential. So what I did, this was probably 30 years ago, is I unplugged the TV, and it was one of those box TVs, and it sat on the table for a year, and then I put it in the closet a year later, and then about a year after that, I gave it away to Goodwill. I just gave the TV away, and I didn't have a TV for 25 years. Wow. Well, fairly recently, I got a TV, and I needed it. I wanted to have a TV for watching movies and some sports and things, and so I went down to the electronics store, and I told the guy, I said, I want to spend, I think I told him $750. I want a basic flat screen, maybe a 52-inch flat screen TV, and he said, okay, and he said, come here, I want to show you something. He just goes like this, come here, I want to show you something, and he walks me into this room, and he hands me these glasses, and I put on the glasses, and they're 3D glasses, and Shrek is on 3D on a big 65-inch television, whatever it was, big, and the donkey's coming out of the screen, and everything's like, whoa, it's like, whoa, it's all around me, and I'm like, and I go, how much? And he said $6,000. So I told him I wanted to pay $750, and he sold me a $6,000 TV set, which I've watched in 3 years. I've watched 4 3D movies on it. I want to show you something, and then when I think about how I show the business, that's all I do. I don't, no sophisticated script. There's nothing. That's all I say is I want to show you something.
Yeah.
I said, I'd like to get together with you. Let's get together. I want to run some things by you and just get your thoughts on some things. And that's how I approach it. So I create rapport with people, and then when I get them on the phone, I say, this is Jordan. We met a week ago. I was really impressed by your knowledge of business, or I give them a compliment if there's a sincere compliment I can pay to them. I said, I'd love to get together with you and show you some things, run some business ideas, learn a little bit more from you, and just get your thoughts on some things. I'm like, come here, I want to show you something. That's the approach.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I've got another question here. It's a good question from Emma Lowe. Emma's question is, really enjoying tonight. How do you keep your motivation levels up when coming across no after no?
And can I just say that Emma's just gained a promotion.
She just
yesterday.
She's had a rank advancement.
Yeah, rank advancement.
I would have a hard time believing that wasn't a planned question, because that's a great question.
No, it's not planned. I promise.
Promise.
Well, motivation, I think, motivation is directly related to having something to look forward to. Like if you have something compelling to look forward to, like an exciting vacation, you're motivated, right? You're not depressed, you're motivated. But when you lose hope, that's when you get depressed. If you think about it, if you have nothing to look forward to, you get depressed. That's why when we sign up in our program, the first time we sign up, we're really excited because we have something exciting to look forward to, and then we start talking to people, right? And then we get 3 or 4 people that tell us it's a really dumb idea, or I know somebody that lost money in one of those things, or I would never get involved in something like that, it's a scam. And then all of a sudden our motivation goes down to here because we we were excited because we saw a brighter future, and now we're starting to question that future, so we get depressed because we lost hope. So there's a correlation between hope and having something to look forward to and motivation. So the key, because we're all self-employed, the key to staying motivated is making sure it's our responsibility. It's not Diana and Clive's responsibility. It's our responsibility as entrepreneurs to constantly be creating things for ourselves that we can put out in front of us to give us something exciting and compelling to look forward to. That's the first thing. The second thing is we got to believe that our company or our vehicle is going to take us there. So if we start to question our abilities or our company to take us there, then we got a problem. So we have to be around people that are doing it, because we got to maintain that high level of belief that it's possible through the company that we're working through, the vehicle, and that we have the capabilities. Staying around people that have done it, listening to audios, being on conference calls like this, being at the events, and then constantly create and recreate your dreams so that you have something compelling and exciting to look forward to. Those are the elements and the components that will keep you motivated. Now, the key is, the reality is, there are going to be, this is the truth, and Clive and Diana will attest to this, there are going to be many, many, many days that you're not going to be motivated. In fact, there's going to be some days that you're going to be downright depressed. And there'll be some days where you might even lose hope for a day or two. So you want to adopt the philosophy of never quit on a bad day. In other words, if you have a bad day or a bad week, don't quit that week on that bad week. Everybody always quits on a bad day or a bad week or a bad month. That's when they quit. So the key is never quit on a bad day. Stay in action, and you will have a good day. As long as you stay in action, at some point you're going to have a good day, and then you won't want to quit.
Cool, thank you, Jordan. Now, following that, I've just had another question come in from Idil Ahmed, and again, it really follows on from what you said, and I think, well, I think we know the answer, the three of us here, and others watching the broadcast may be able to help as well. But his is a great interview. My question is, how do you motivate the distributors that aren't doing much activity? And that's from Idil Ahmed.
Well, I have found that the best motivators and the best trainers in the world can motivate somebody for a day or two. But ultimately, my goal is not to motivate my team. Now, what I can do is I can speak the future into the group, and then some people will take a hold of it and some won't. But to try and, you can't take on the burden. I can't take on the burden of trying to motivate everybody, because that's a formula for burnout.
Yeah.
Your job is to find the people that are ready to do this now that you don't have to motivate. Everybody has the same opportunity. So, you want to plug in with everything going on and speak the future, create the vision for your team and for the future of the company and the future of your organization. Speak that. But then the ones that step into that, those are the people you want to work with. Don't get caught in the trap of trying to prop up everybody that's not motivated, because you will burn yourself out so fast, and then you'll get discouraged and not want to do business.
Cool.
That's great.
Now, we've had one question which we're starting to overrun. And the last question is, I'm actually going to answer this. It's from my very good friend, actually, Derek Thomas. And he says, can we keep Jordan on for an extra hour, like an encore? Well, the answer is, Derek, no.
What about an extra 5-minute encore, if he agrees?
Maybe we can do this again sometime soon. But
can we have you for an extra 5 minutes, Jordan?
You can have me until my battery runs out. I got 10% on my battery.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, done.
Well, I've got a question for you. Your book, I know that every red cent goes to charity that comes out of that book, okay? And I think it's a brilliant charity idea. Most of the people here on the broadcast will know nothing about it. Would you just give them a little outline of what the charity does? Because this is super good.
Absolutely. We align with an organization called Kiva, which is KIVA.org. And I highly recommend you go there. It's great if you've got kids. What a powerful thing to get them involved in this, because you can give as little as $25 up to whatever. I've given over $350,000 to Kiva through the sale of my book. And what happens is then Kiva, through the site, you actually look on the site and there's entrepreneurs listed on there in third world, developing, impoverished countries where individuals want to start businesses. And we loan money to those individuals, and then they start their business and they pay the money back, and then we can loan it out again. So we've helped over 1,000 people start businesses through the Kiva organization all over the world. And then that money gets paid back. I just found out actually this week that I've got another $20,000 in reserve that's been paid back. Amazing. That I can re-loan out. And you can actually see the entrepreneurs. So it's Kiva, KIVA.org, and 100% of the profits from Beach Money go to charity. And you can go to, I've got a few videos on there. Beach Money, there's no company obviously promoted on Beach Money. It's just beachmoney.com if you want to check out the Beach Money website and learn more about Kiva.
That's cool, thank you. And I've just got another question here, which I thought was a question, and it's from, and I hope I pronounced this name right. If I do, please forgive me. Diozi Shakar. And his question is, hi Jordan, how do you try to convert your Green Book people into active distributors?
Good question, Diozi. So the Green Book is my most valuable book. That's my follow-up book. And I'm just scanning. I've got everybody's numbered in there. So I have on every page it's numbered on each page, and then everybody's name's on there, their phone number, and then I also cross-reference them into a contact manager where I have notes of our conversations. So, but what I do with those individuals, I do phone periodic texts to them, phone calls. I stay in touch with them on Facebook. I keep them updated on things that are going on. I like to follow up with good news. I like to follow up with good news and with invitations. Good news and with invitations. So from my Green Book, I'm going to invite people to listen in on conference calls. I'm going to let them know when the company makes any kinds of announcements, or if there's anything that I think that would be interesting to them, I'll leave a message and I'll say, hey, I've got some good news I'd love to share with you. Give me a call or shoot me a message, that kind of thing. But I'm constantly staying in touch with the people in that Green Book. And what I found is that is very high. So because these are people that were interested that didn't sign up. So for every 10 that are in that book, I'll sign up over time. I'll sign up half of them as distributors or customers over time. For every 10 that are in that book, because these are people.
I think Jordan's battery may be giving up.
Still with me?
Yeah, I think we're losing you.
I think we're losing Jordan. I think your battery may be getting a bit tired. But listen,
so much Jordan.
If you're Jordan, here. Okay, well, great. Stay on the line for me, buddy. And but I'd just like to say thank you, brilliant thank you to Jordan Adler. Wasn't he absolutely awesome? Okay, I mean, I'm sure you thought he was just stupendous.
What are you going to do to Jordan
now? What I'm going to suggest you, what I'm going to say to you now is, I want you to be aware of everybody watching here tonight. What we're doing in 4 weeks' time. Our next guest speaker. He's a gentleman who we don't know very well yet.
I wrote to him last week.
Diana wrote to him last week, and both Diana and I knew his dad. And his dad had an impact on our lives and on many people's lives. And his son is going to come on and broadcast with us in 4 weeks' time and tell us about his dad, what's it like to live with him, and the legacy that his dad left. The guy that's coming in 4 weeks' time is Tom Ziegler, Zig Ziglar's son. So that's going to be a fascinating interview. It's going to be at the same time in 4 weeks' time. So tonight, what I'd like you to do is give Jordan Adler a round of applause, if you would, please.
Thank you so much, Jordan, from all of us. It was an amazing interview.
It was fantastic.
I love it.
We love you. All of us love you, don't we, Clive?
Okay, and it's good night from Jordan, it's good night from me, and it's good night from her. Good night.
Good night.